Hello, and welcome to Conversations with Reverend G. I am Reverend Grenetta Mason, aka Reverend G, and I'm here every Monday night on WEMS Radio, bringing you conversations with many, many different guests from different walks of life, from different perspectives. We bring our conversations to you in hopes that we can motivate you, inspire you. We talk about spirituality, and we talk about spirituality from a practical point of view. How does it work in your everyday life? What are some of the spiritual tools that we use that we could share with you that can support you in creating what I call a spiritual toolkit? Each week, my guests come from different backgrounds. I have comedians, I have poets, I have entrepreneurs, I have ministers, I have public speakers, people from all walks of life. And the common thread is that we talk about how spirituality has supported us in our journey. If you want to see more of me, you can find me every day on Facebook and Instagram. I'm on Facebook and YouTube as Reverend Grenetta Mason and on Instagram as Rev Grenetta. And I hope that my goal is really to support you in finding joy and living your best life with grace and ease. So tonight, my guest is Mark Graham. Mark is an all-around guy, right? Mark, when I first asked Mark for his description, he said he was a traditional man, and I love that. Mark is a husband, I would say a father, a friend, and he's like, he says he just happens to be a computer specialist, a technology specialist. He's an entrepreneur, and he's a technology consultant. Welcome, Mark Graham.
Hello, hello, hello.
How are you today?
I am awesome, especially since I saw that opening. It was so grand. Absolutely.
I'm
So,
excited to have you on the show.
thank you. I'm excited as well.
There's so much that we could talk about because we talk all the time. But one of the things that I'd like to start off talking about is that so much you. There's one thing that I really admire about you is your relationship with your wife, right? And how much you love her and how much you honor her, right? And it 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 just feels so great to see that interaction. And I know a lot of people want to have those kind of relationships and they strive to be in that position. So as a husband, I'd like for you to share some tips with, how you keep that going and make that work. And I know you're a father also. I thought we'd start there because I so admire the relationship that you have with Leanna. Shout out to Leanna, right?
Well, I would say I don't know if it's so much a tip as much as it is simply an awareness that this is who I love, this is who I chose, this is who chose me. And I cannot remain stagnant in loving her. That's the thing that I've learned. I can tell you that.
Mhm,
Love
mhm,
is ever changing. It is not the same as it was yesterday. I love her differently every day because I
mhm,
learn something different about her every day. And how that happens is simply my willingness to pay attention to her. And
mhm,
it's that's the main thing. That's
mhm,
the main thing.
mhm, mhm. It's just being able to see the person because we all want to be seen, we all want to be heard. And when you say in paying attention to her, that's making sure that she has been seen and she has been heard. And I think that's great. And I love the part about it's continuous. It's always
Yes.
continuously changing, right? When you look at your life, right? And as you've gotten here, and I know you have a great son, and we could talk about that also.
Right.
Can you talk about like the spiritual journey for you? Say you how you grew up with in church or whatever, and then where you are today along the way in your spirituality.
Ooh-wee. All right. Well, let me let me tell you this. Okay.
Okay.
I'm the baby of three.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, baby of three,
Mhm.
and I'm the only one who went to Catholic school.
Oh, okay.
Now, my mom is Methodist. My father is Baptist. I never knew that until I probably was in college. Had no
Mm,
idea, but
mm,
it was interesting
mhm,
to hear my mother in the house, you know, hemming along,
mm,
on
mhm,
Sundays,
mhm,
certain music being played, not always, you know, not always, it's not always the secular music that's being played in the house. So
mhm.
it just seemed like, okay, I understand this. This is what's happening. Then I was being sent down south every summer. So I pretty much
Okay.
middle school, well, no, just before, I'll say elementary school,
Mhm,
I was spending my time in Charleston,
mm,
and I was spending my time in Walterboro.
mhm,
And in that, I had my aunt Mamie. Oh my goodness.
mhm,
That is the epitome. She was the and is the epitome of my spirituality.
mm, mhm,
I just didn't put it together
mhm.
that my dad was the little brother. But
Okay.
he was almost a little brother, but not technically he wasn't. But they saw him as the little brother. My aunts saw him as the little brother.
Mhm,
So when they had the opportunity to have the baby of the little brother,
mhm.
oh, I got
Yeah.
it.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
I was loved upon like no other.
Mm, mm,
I had my failures. Yes, I did when I was in Charleston. Oh boy, I had a ball.
mhm,
I
mhm,
wasn't even close to being the worst child or the
mhm,
craziest child, but
mhm,
I had gotten in my share of foolishness, as any
mhm,
child would.
mhm,
But my aunt Mamie was always my defender.
mm,
When I was
mhm,
dead wrong,
mhm,
she would not. It took me a minute to figure this out. She wouldn't defend me,
mhm,
right? She wasn't defending me, but she was standing for me. And I
mm,
feel that there was a
mm,
difference. There was
mhm,
a
mhm,
difference. She, okay, yeah, he deserves some punishment, yes, but he doesn't deserve to be chastised. You
mm,
know, give him
mhm,
the punishment, let him learn, let him get over it. Tomorrow we'll be smiling.
mhm,
And
mhm,
that basically gave me that peace that I needed, that regardless of how upset someone else is with me or how
mhm,
upset I am with myself, it takes me perspective, it takes me and my awareness that there is a tomorrow to
mhm,
bring me out of that funk and
mhm,
be in my joy. And that led me all the way through my elementary, middle school days in Catholic school, where I unfortunately experienced a little racism
mhm,
from my fellow Harlem Puerto Ricans, as well
mm,
as as well as my fellow Harlem Chinese and Japanese. We
mm,
all we all were in school together, and yes, there was plenty of bigotry and racism to go around that these young children had learned from their own parents. But
mm,
but it
mhm,
was that love that I learned when I was down south. That strength I got from my mother, you
mhm,
know, and
mhm,
and to hold my ground, which I got from my dad.
mhm,
And that all of that combined had me cruise
mhm,
on through that and
mhm,
continue on through high school at,
mhm,
at, at Connell Hayes in the Bronx.
mhm, right here.
So I did my 12 years in
Mhm,
Catholic school. And I
mhm,
mean, those basic teachings
Mhm.
had me be able to work through all those challenges, all those adversities,
Mhm.
and just the basic right and wrong. And
Mm.
it until this day, I would say that I move with that. You
Mm.
know,
Mhm.
I get to see,
Mhm.
that there is positivity tomorrow.
Mm.
It doesn't
Mhm.
have to be
Mhm.
in this moment, and that
Mhm.
works
Mhm.
with everything. And then with the coaching experiences that you and I have,
Mhm.
with choosing to forward people,
Right.
it all falls into place, and all the learnings that we have experienced together, they make
Mhm.
sense. So
Mhm.
I would say that spirituality is my foundation. That
Mhm.
that that understanding that I can connect with people. They're not going to be upset with me
Mhm.
forever. We can
Mhm.
move forward together, and it's just a moment. It's
Mhm.
just a moment. And after the moment is over, it's the past.
Mhm. You know what just came to my mind? I know that you have a son. I know you have older
Mm.
children, but I know you have a 10-year-old son too. When it comes to, you talked about your foundation and and it supports your spirituality now. How are you teaching your kids? What is their foundation? How have you done that?
Oh, well, that's that wonderful wife right there.
Mhm.
That's that wonderful wife. Yes. Yes. She leads 100% with love. And this is the amazing part. Last night, I figured out what it was that makes her so amazing.
Mhm.
Um, Somebody came by here and dropped off a package, and they looked at something we had in the hallway,
Mhm.
and they were like, "Oh, wow, what's that? Wow, woo wee. You want to sell it? How much is that?" She was like, "Oh, you like that? You want it? Here, goodbye." It was
Mhm.
gone.
Mhm.
It was gone. She had no attachment to it. In
Mhm.
her mind, this particular item was something that was meant for them,
Mm.
because they had the courage to ask for it. She
Mhm.
had the willingness to let it go.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that was the magic. My wife has empathy on tap.
Mm.
On tap. And I mean,
Mhm.
I say that because I told her if I answered the door, I'd have been like, "Why are you looking in my house? drop, drop off the package and keep it moving. Don't be scan, don't scan the foyer of my house. But the truth of the matter is, we're New Yorkers.
Mhm.
It's not that we don't love. We
Mhm.
learn to protect first. We
Mhm.
protect first, love later.
Mhm.
All right, don't
Mhm.
look, brother. You're getting a little too close to my window. Stay right there where you are.
Mhm.
Here go a few dollars. You're good, but don't run up on me and have me be in defense.
Mhm.
That's not my wife. My
Mhm.
wife doesn't look to have to protect herself. She doesn't expect to be harmed. So
Mhm.
she has that love right there. And
Mhm.
it's like, you need something? Oh, I got it. Here you go. Take that.
Mhm. Mhm.
And in the back of her mind, I always joke for her. I'd be like, yeah, your conscience was like, I got a husband. Your husband got you. Let him
Mhm.
have it. There's
Right.
more.
Right.
And
Mhm.
I'm still learning.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
still learning, but that's the amazing part of it all. That's how we raise Jake, with
Mhm.
empathy,
Mhm.
and he is the most loving
Mhm.
child you
Mhm.
ever want to meet, and
Mhm.
he unfortunately has already experienced racism in school.
Mhm.
He had a young child spit at his feet when he walked in the
Mhm.
classroom.
Mhm.
Yes. And it
Mhm.
wasn't anything crazy and irate. He was like, "What? Well, what is that about? What's wrong? Why would you do that?" Was his question,
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's his mama all day. because
My grandmother. Yeah, you know what it comes to mind too as a young black kid. Right here in school, he's having this incident. What I just have no idea. What are you teaching him, and how do you teach him as a young black boy with everything that's happening now?
oh,
Um,
listen, it's not even that I'm teaching him; he's teaching me.
mm,
That's honestly the truth.
Because
What he does is look at something, process, comes back and asks questions. And his questions are so to the point, they are so real that I realize when I answer him, I have to be sharp. I have to be because if his dad tells him the wrong thing, this is something he can hold, and act upon later, But he had unfortunately he had a Donald Trump complex at one point because he was on the news so much. And what do I watch? MSNBC, CNN, you know, that and the BBC network. So for a year, my child has been bombarded with the indirect hearing of Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump. And because of me, he developed this disdain for Donald Trump. And I had to actually defend Donald Trump to my child, um, and get my child to understand that he is a human being who is flawed like the rest of us. And unfortunately, he's in the limelight. Everything that he does is seen. It is seen. The rest of us are kindly and graciously in the dark. So we get away with terrible things. He cannot. However, he could make better decisions. And how he could do that is having empathy on tap, you know, looking at love for all people and knowing that love is available to all people, regardless of the situation. And just answering from that, coming from that, always is the right answer for him. Because it's always going to be another question with a 9-year-old. It's always another question.
Yeah, that is very interesting to be truthful and authentic with him when he comes to you without trying to cover it up or make it anything, because he would probably know, right? And
Absolutely.
because they're sharp with so much, I always wonder the impact on the kids, right? Like a 9-year-old with COVID, the beginning of COVID, being home, now even having to, and then especially for a black kid, with everything, with the police brutality, with everything, the murder, everything we're seeing, the impact, right? And what I hear is that your wife is the rock, right, and all of that, right, supporting him to just get through it. And I think that's what we're all trying to do. When we talk about mental health right now, mental health is like really touching everybody, because I say even with me, I have to use my spiritual practices during this time to keep me um, enjoy on the right path with clarity moving forward, right? So,
Right.
and like you said, as a coach and as a spiritual coach, there's been a lot of supporting people through this whole thing, right? Helping them, support them to stay mentally fit, to get through this whole COVID thing. And then,
Absolutely.
you know, so can you talk about what this past year has meant to you, and with the COVID, the brutality and all that, the impact and the positive stuff that's come out of it for you?
All right. Well, COVID, basically just reinforced um, the necessary happening. The rather, pardon that phrase. I would say that it's the need that's absolutely necessary for us as men as Black men to get ourselves to doctors. The reason why I say that is because my oldest brother, um, he was working. He had the flu sometime late December, January, and he was fighting through it. You
Mm.
know, our mother was a miracle worker. We had flu, whatever it was. She would concoct her elixir
Right.
straight out the
Mhm.
south. We good
Mhm.
in 2 days, back in
Yeah.
school, doing what we need to do.
Right.
And we grew up that way. So hospitals were not always the number one place to go when you're not feeling well, you know. And
Mm.
he was living alone. He battled through it and it was lingering on him, you know. So we were into February, and he was still feeling it a little bit. Now, at that point, he thought he was coming out of it, you
Mhm.
know. So
Mhm.
he kept moving forward, and next thing I know, I speak to him. He's coughing a little bit. I'm concerned because at that time I didn't know he had still had a touch of the flu, you
Mhm.
know. I said,
Mhm.
nah, I'm like, brother, you need to go be seen. His
Mhm.
girlfriend told him, you need to go be seen. My dad told him he needed to go be seen, you
Mhm.
know, and,
Mhm.
you know, he just kept moving. He was going to work, doing his day to day.
Mhm.
My dad, he came to see me. He had this really dry cough in the bathroom one day. I'm like,
Mhm.
hey, Pop, you need to go get seen. So
Mhm.
he goes home. My mother tells me, hey, you know, your father might have, he seems to have a little low grade fever. You know, I told him he needed to go be seen. The next day, dad goes to get seen. Boom, he pops up positive. Now, mom never tested positive.
Mhm.
Um, Dad kind of he had a day or two of not feeling well. After that, he was back
Mhm.
in the street doing what he
Mhm.
normally does. All
Mhm.
good. Unfortunately,
Mhm.
that next week, my brother went to work, got off work. You know, after people told him he needed to be seen at the job, the ambulance was called. That was the last time anybody that knew him saw him. You know,
Mhm.
he went into the hospital. 7 days later, he expired, you know,
Mhm.
due to COVID.
Oh,
Now, I say that all of that to say my brother was walking around with this thing likely for a month or so,
okay.
a
Mhm.
month or so, all
Mhm.
because he did not go to be seen.
Mhm.
You know, that,
Mhm.
festered
Mhm.
in him, and it gave it time to
Mhm.
actually really take a hold on
So,
him. His
mhm.
girlfriend who had it, he
Mhm.
likely gave it to her. She had it. She was seen. Luckily, she had a family member who is in a medical practice, and they did what they needed to do for her. She
Mhm.
had a horrible cough for months and months, but
Mhm.
she's
Mhm.
here today, functioning,
Mhm.
doing what she needed to do, all because she was seen. You
Mhm.
know,
Mhm. So that is a message when you were saying go and be seen, don't wait. The
yeah,
message for Black men in the
to
community.
take care of ourselves.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
and that is the truth. Take care of yourself.
Mhm. Mhm. That is a very good message. Also, when when you say that, and I look around too at the Black community and what was uncovered during COVID
Hmm.
about the healthcare in the community,
Yes.
all of that, right? Um, plays plays into the whole idea in our community around going getting seen, what's available to us, how easy is it, what's the access. So all
Right.
that's important also when we talk about the campaign to get Black men to go be seen. We also have to look at access, availability.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
and education. And
And
I say,
education,
yeah.
right.
And I say that simply because I have friends who will sit in front of me and tell me that this is all an ordeal that has been concocted to eliminate black people and all. I'm like, oh, so you into the conspiracy theory? I'm like, okay, I see what you're saying, brother. Yeah,
Mhm,
you are aware of the Tuskegee experiment. I
mhm,
get that. I get
mhm,
all that. But while
mhm,
I was in Catholic school, I remember you, brother, in public school, and I
mhm,
remember you struggling in earth science,
mhm.
earth science.
Right.
But now in 2021, you have a PhD. Yeah,
Mm,
but my brother, you are a chemical biologist or something that
mhm,
you can be on the street on a soapbox telling people this, you
right.
know,
Mhm,
irresponsibly telling people these things.
mhm,
Oh, there's no such thing. I don't wear a mask. I haven't gotten it.
mhm,
All of those things are what has hurt our communities.
mm,
A lack of education all
mhm.
the way.
Wow. Mm,
All the way, not
mm,
understanding that this thing is deadly. It
mm,
does not have a face and doesn't care what yours looks like. It
mhm,
only needs a body so it can continue to live and grow in. That's all it
mm,
needs.
mhm, mhm,
It's a trip.
mhm. And you know what's interesting about that? We've come this far, and now that we do have this vaccine in place, people aren't trusting it. They're not going to get it. There's just like half of the people will, and half of the people won't. It's just so much lack of trust, I guess, in the information that's
Yeah.
out there that's being shared, and
It just makes me laugh because in my dealings with schools, guess what? One of the things that I see in the school or the city database system,
mhm,
immunization issues. All
mhm,
of us are vaccinated
right.
with everything from MMR, measles, mumps, rubella, for Tdap, for whooping cough, and
All that.
polio.
Mhm.
But now you want to complain and wonder about this vaccine. We never have experienced anything like this.
Right, right,
If you're making a choice not to do it, then you just don't do it.
right.
Don't misinform others.
Others, right, right.
Around that's your decision. I
Mhm,
chose to get the vaccine simply because I refuse to bring anything home to my wife, to my children,
mhm,
to my mother, to my father. I
mhm,
absolutely would not. We already lost the oldest child due to
mhm,
this thing.
mhm,
Our dad happened to be positive, but pushed through it.
mhm,
Okay, that's
mhm,
close enough for me to
mhm,
lose my
mhm,
oldest brother and then to lose the patriarch of the
mhm,
family behind that. No, 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 that's not going to
right.
happen. Yeah,
Mhm,
so
mhm,
definitely, I'm here to say, make your own choice, but don't
right,
influence others.
right,
Because of your lack of education, cowardice, or just simple foolishness.
mm. Really, right. Mark, you had mentioned, going on, and I know you work for the DOE in technology, right? And you
Right.
also have your own business.
Yes.
As an entrepreneur, talk about like the impact and the differences now that you're seeing over, say, the past year and how things are turning around now.
Oh well, pretty much due to COVID, I lost 75% of
Mm,
75% of my income for my private business. Why? Because I nor any of my techs could make physical visits, to
mm,
any client. So
mm,
everything actually just led into my lack of preparedness.
mm,
I never expected that I needed to create a whole new level of billing charts for
mm.
virtual services.
Support.
Right.
Mhm, mhm,
It was already built into my service agreements, but once I lost the service agreements, it turned into ad hoc services. Hey, Mark, can you
mhm,
send somebody? Can you somebody, you know,
mhm,
handle this for me? And I'm like, okay. So I had to develop that. Luckily, I had the tools already available. So I was able to just jump in, but
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't able to fully take advantage of it, the way that, I should have. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
now, as things are turning around, the the tools are built into the latest updates. For instance, if you're on an Apple device,
Mm-hmm.
you don't need any special remote software. There's a tool built into the operating system that will actually allow a tech to almost jump right in your machine with your approval.
Right, right,
And
right.
now Windows
Mm-hmm.
has it built in. They always had what's called remote desktop, but now it's more intuitive. You can pull up this app. Whoever's going to assist you pulls up the app. They give you a code. You enter the code. They request full access. You agree to full access, and now
Yeah.
they can walk all the way through your machine while you sit there, do what's necessary,
Yeah.
and you go. So
Right.
the industry has changed to a
Mm-hmm.
complete and utter virtual service industry. So it's
Okay.
different. It's
Mm-hmm.
different. You still can make a little money, but
Mm-hmm.
it'll take some time to get back up to speed. But the business is still there, and now it's just the time to pretty much just make up what you lost. And as an actual true hustler, you
Mm-hmm.
never can make up what you lost. You lost
Mm-hmm.
it. You can make
Right.
more money. You can always make more money, but you can't
Mm-hmm.
make what you
Mm-hmm.
lost because you
Mm-hmm.
already
Right.
lost it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's a little different now, but the business is still there. You just have to be ready to reinvent yourself. And we just previously had this conversation about being ready to reinvent yourself as industry trends change.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And yes, and being and that too, being ready to what came to my mind too is being ready, being educated, knowing what's going on, being aware of what's
Hmm.
happening. And there was a huge shift for everybody. And as we look at it, there was this whole virtual move for
Hmm.
everybody to shift into virtual. So being creative enough to find your space there. Find out
Absolutely.
where you can do your best business,
Yes.
virtually. Right.
Yes.
How has your school being a part of the school, how
Hmm.
has that changed now? Because you actually still go to school, right? To the building.
Um, I was, and I would say over the last month, I
Mm-hmm.
have been remote almost 80%
Okay.
of the time. But
Mm-hmm.
as any IT professional, experienced IT professional will tell you, remote services are great, but when you really want to get down and dirty, you have to physically make a presence in the building. So there are certain days that the facility is completely remote. So the
Okay.
building is empty,
Mm-hmm.
and I make my way to the building, and I do what I need to do, and I get right on out of there.
Mm-hmm. So you're pretty much there alone when they are not there. You get
Right.
right. Okay, that's really, really good to be able to do that. We when we met, right? It was a momentum, right?
Right.
And what I remember most is the your coaching, and as I think about who you are and some of the things you've done, I think of you as a mentor and a coach, right? Can you talk about some of the things you're doing now to support that talent of yours?
Well, well, I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm trying to monetize that talent. I'm
Yeah,
trying to
no,
monetize
really, yes. That's what you have
definitely.
to say it. You have to say
Right.
it for it to be happening.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Mhm,
my thing is I'm attempting at this point to
mhm,
look at different curriculums within business where I can actually be a trainer within business, a coordinator within business.
Mm-hmm.
I feel the piece of coaching will
Mm-hmm.
find its way
Mm-hmm.
anytime that I'm in front of people. So
Okay.
if I can get in front of people, I
Mm-hmm.
think I will be able to offer,
The
something that
coach.
can move any crowd forward. As long as
Mm-hmm.
I know what the subject matter is,
Mm-hmm.
life, life will always find its way into any subject matter. Therefore, coaching always has an opportunity, no matter what. And simply, we are coaching life,
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what it is, we are coaching life. Joy, happiness, resolve, love, empathy, you
Mm-hmm.
know, responsibility. We are certainly coaching life. It'll always be
Okay.
there. So just
Mm-hmm.
if I could get in front of people,
Mm-hmm.
and find my space, yes, I will be there.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
and definitely signing contracts for those coins.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, it is interesting to thinking about the services and the different things that we offer and being able to get in front of people. And it's just a natural part of what happens when you talk to people. You're supporting
Yes,
them and supporting them to move them and shift them in a positive way because the
absolutely.
goal is about joy and happiness and being at peace and not the struggle. So
Absolutely.
that's what it's really all about. So it doesn't matter where you are, who you're with, that same goal is there, right?
Yes,
With the people.
absolutely. Yeah,
Um,
worthiness.
yeah, one of the things that I talk about on the show is a spiritual toolkit. And
Mhm.
the spiritual toolkit is spiritual practices, right? That we use, each one of us, we have our own spiritual practices, we have our own little spiritual toolkit. And these practices support us when we're going through anything, when we want to make a shift. If something is happening, we pull out these practices, and some of them we do consistently. Can you talk about you probably have a lot of practices in your little kit, your top three practices that support you?
um, I would say um, the having the awareness to breathe.
Mm.
Definitely having the awareness to breathe, understanding that breathing is essential to life and it's always available to us.
Mm.
And to give you an example of how powerful it is, if you know anyone who practices sports,
Mhm.
anyone who works out, they're always being told to breathe.
Right.
They're always being told take a deep breath before you execute a powerful act.
Mm.
Because taking that time to nourish your body with oxygen
Mhm.
makes you powerful. It gives you that moment that you need to say, okay, let me regroup,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know. And
Mhm.
that is certainly like the best thing for me because there are many times when the wrong thing is said or the wrong thing happens in my presence. And
Mhm.
before this mouth of mine starts moving, I
Right.
have to take
Right.
a deep breath,
Mhm. Mhm.
regroup, and
Mhm.
consider which path I'm going to take. So
Mhm.
yeah, that would be my number one thing. That would be my number one thing.
Mhm. Number two, we got three of these,
I
right?
would say number two would be, to always know that I am a blessing.
Oh, yeah, you had
And
that quote. I really like that. I wanted to get to that. Now you jumped
yeah.
to that quote.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No. It was a beautiful quote that you said, and
Yeah. I've
Being
been
a
blessed to be,
blessing. Yeah,
yes, I've
yeah,
been blessed to be a blessing. Therefore, I'm not on borrowed time, but a well-planned path of manifestation.
yes. So you
And
knowing that you are a blessing, right?
yes, yes. And in knowing that I'm a blessing,
Mm-hmm.
I am so motivated and inspired to be it, to act in it. You know, the kids and the staff at the school know any random Thursday, Friday
Mm-hmm.
might be boxes of Domino's pizza showing up. You know, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm willing to feed people. I'm willing to be joyful. I'm willing to say, hey, we don't have a coffee maker in the school. You know, I'm going to go to Dunkin' Donuts and buy two big old, containers of coffee,
Mm-hmm.
milk, drop it on the table and keep moving.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, that just brings, it's almost a selfish act. That's how much I love to do it, because it brings me joy to see
Mm-hmm.
that others are happy. They have
Mm-hmm.
what they need, and even if they didn't know they needed it, they got it, and it changed the mood.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I guess
That's
I can,
too.
yeah. Wow, I'm just thinking about that. I guess I can say that one of those things is to always try your best to be a gift to somebody at any time.
Mm-hmm. 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 It's like giving it outwardly, like the more you give outwardly, right? Of
Yes.
yourself to support others, right? Be a gift. Yeah. That's really, really cool because yeah, as a blessing, you get to share that and bless others.
Yeah. And I and
And go ahead.
I no, I'm just thinking of that third one.
Yeah.
I would say I would say number three is something that I picked up from a mentor, a friend, a coordinator,
Hmm.
a great person, Valori Thomas.
Hmm.
One time she said casually that, you know, do your best to be the example and not the exception, you
Mm.
know? And
Mm.
in that,
Interesting.
yeah,
Mm.
in that, I say, I picked up somebody's always watching what you're doing.
Mm.
So if you have that in mind, you would want to be your best,
Mm.
because as a Black man, I know I am an example to so many other Black children, and maybe even other Black men.
Mhm.
So I would always look to be an example.
Mhm.
I can choose to wear jeans and sneakers, and there's nothing wrong with it, because I love a good pair of jeans, a nice pair of sneakers, and a hoodie. Don't get me
Mhm.
wrong. I'm NY to the core, baby.
Right.
Absolutely. You know,
Mm.
there's nothing wrong with it. But guess what? Instead of choosing to be the exception, like, oh, I don't have to do that to
Mhm.
stand out. I'm good. I'm here in the hood. I'm keeping it real. Okay, you keep it real all you want. And might one day you might find out that keeping it real will keep you real broke. you
Mm.
know, you
Mhm.
have to represent something else.
Mhm.
Represent excellence. And I choose to put a suit on, some shoes, because that is my superhero costume. You
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
that's when I put on my shoes and my suit and I walk into that school, and these young children see me, they see somebody that they can respect.
Mhm.
Someone who looks a little different, because maybe daddy's not wearing a suit, you
Mm.
know,
Mhm.
but this
Mhm.
man is wearing a suit and he takes care of me even when my father's not around. He's giving me information, that I can use, and he always wants me to be better.
Mhm.
So being an example will always be better than being the exception, you
Mhm.
know? So, like, and that right there, wow, you talk about a tool in my spiritual toolkit. The
Mhm.
joy that I got when I returned to that building after my my stroke, You know, kids running up on me like, Mr. Graham, what's going on? I thought I wasn't going to see you anymore. They were telling me that you was sick, but you here and you're going up the steps. Yeah, that's all right. If you need me, I'll leave class for you. I'll leave class for you. You know, those things told me that I have that impact because I've been the example, you know, and that lifts my spirits more than anything else because like you already know, I have a 9-year-old.
Right.
And if I'm impacting them, I know I'm impacting him. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I love that example and the fact that our young Black boys need so much of what you're offering, right? So much because so many of them are with single parents or not having the example, and to be able to show them that and be that, right?
Right.
Is powerful. And I admire everything that you do. And I know you just talked about the stroke, but I admire how you went from the stroke to where you are today. And just looking at you, I just smile and I'm so happy to see, coming from Mark, we know, to having the stroke to Mark today. Can you talk a little bit about how you have, I would say you survived and now you're thriving. Can you talk about what supported you to get to this point?
Listen, straight up, you. For real. You and everybody else like you that showed up for me. To the point, I make people laugh all the time when I tell them that the security guard at Mount Sinai West was like, listen, who is this dude? He's a rapper or something? Because I had people showing up in 5s and 10s every hour on the hour, showing me love. I'm still learning of some of the actions that people took to support my family and to support me. There's a young lady. I hope Venus is watching. Venus was on a team on which I was coaching on, and she saw my wife and saw her so distraught and tired and weary from coming to that hospital day after day. She was meeting my wife every morning, bringing her green juices every morning to keep her energy up. I didn't see even Venus. I didn't even see her because I was in the hospital. But it was people like them, who like her and you that sat with me in that hospital, talked to me, kept firing off different events that I attended or things that I did to spark that memory, to keep it coming back. And they were there to see me succeed. They were not there to see me sit down. When I was doing what I was doing, they were like, yes, keep going. They were never there to tell me, boy, you're doing too much. You better sit down. You're going to have a setback. And you know me, I wasn't listening to that. No way. I was moving. So I would say me going through that and still recovering and continuing to move forward. I would say this, Grenetta, I'm living now. I wasn't living before. I thought I was living before. I am living now because in every moment I have purpose. There's no just sitting. Even when I'm watching a movie, I can't even enjoy a movie anymore because this brain of mine is firing. Like, hey, listen, you got this to do. So I'm not going to stop you from watching your movie, but the minute them credits start rolling, boy, you better get up and get it done. And as a result of that happening and me following through with it and not fighting against it, I am at work. I am working from home. I'm going into the building. I am attempting Well, not attempting. I'm moving my family out of state.
Okay.
I'm purchasing a new home. That's
Mm.
because I have chosen to live and not exist. You know,
Mhm.
just
That's
existing
so,
don't do
so
it.
key. That is
Yeah.
so key because it's like living and just being in the moment of your life and enjoying your life. And I talk
Mhm.
about, in order feeling that joy and living your best life, what does that look like, right? As we go through life, because I can remember the whole struggle part of getting to where I am now. But what I've learned is it does not take all that. I've learned a new way of living my best life, right?
Yes, yes. And you just said it. And for everybody that's watching this, you probably didn't catch that, but let me drop it right here for you. What Rev G just said is the struggle she had getting there, she didn't have to. Struggling can be a choice. You
It's
can
a
make it a struggle.
That's
You
right.
can make it a struggle. I was
Mhm.
learning to walk again. But guess what? I didn't make it a struggle. Why? Because it was what I wanted to do. I was going to figure out how to do it. And I already accepted the fact that it was going to be hard. And
Mhm.
in accepting that, there was no feeling of struggle.
Mhm.
There was the feeling of, damn, I was ready to hustle because I knew it was going to be hard. So there was no
Mhm.
reason to talk about, oh man, I only could get up to the second flight of stairs,
Mhm.
you know.
Mhm.
And when I got there, I turned around and looked at the therapist, and he's scared to death because he didn't think I was even going to get past the first
But
flight.
mhm.
All right.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
trust
Mhm.
and believe, folks. Everything can be hard as you make it.
Yeah.
All right. That
Exactly.
yes, just
Mhm.
push and
Mhm.
push only when you have to push. You
Mhm.
know, if you do it right, you won't have to push. You'll walk right around adversity.
That exactly. And you'll attract all the things that you need. My big thing
Mhm.
is how powerful your thoughts are. And the thoughts that you keep will support you in not having to have that struggle. If we kind of look
Mhm.
at people that struggle, live in fear, and they have anxiety, and they're living in all these negative spaces, right?
Right, right,
And
right.
then that's when there's that big struggle. But if you can shift, right, to,
Right. Right. Yes.
and it's like shift, but support people in shifting. We can easily say shift, but there is a support that goes with that. And like you said, you knew what your goal was, and you just went for that goal, and everything was about getting to the end result. Yeah,
That's right. And nothing was a surprise.
right,
Nothing
exactly.
was a surprise. You already know.
Yeah, I was there.
You
Right,
already
right.
know. You know, you buy
Yeah.
the house, you know the mortgage is going to be due on the first. What you mean you're struggling? You knew it was due on the first. So on the first of the prior month, you should have been looking for that other job. You
Right,
know,
exactly.
if
Something to
you
support it.
that's right. If you know what's
Mhm.
coming, you can prepare for it. If you prepare for it, you don't have to get ready. You are already ready.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. So, what would you like to leave people with? We have a few more minutes. I knew the time would just fly. What would what would be some parting message, right?
Oh,
That you would like, or anything,
I would
how people can get in touch with you too, because it's important. You did mention that you wanted to monetize some of your services, so let people
right.
know how to get in touch with you also.
All right. Well, I would in parting,
Hmm.
I would say to everyone out there, um, it's everything starts absolutely with you. The joy that you're seeking is inside you. You have to sow that seed. If you're choosing to be happy, you will be happy. If you're If you're already joyous, people can only add to your joy. So if you want to know why you're not happy many times of the day, start with yourself.
Mm,
Start with yourself. The
mm,
reason why you're not happy is because you're choosing not to be happy.
mm,
Even in the worst times, someone could tell you a joke and make you laugh.
mm,
Why? Because inherently we gravitate to joy.
mm,
Within the worst situations, we will look to smile. So if
mm,
that's the case, we are the beginnings of our own joy. Choose
mm.
to be happy in your heart and let it flower from there. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I can be reached at M as in Mary Graham, Graham, spelled just like graham crackers. All right. So M Graham at pro, that's PRO, the number 5,
Mhm.
M as in Mary, S as in Sam.com. So that's M Graham at pro5ms.com. All right. And if you're opting to use a phone number, you can call 347-223-5000. 347-223-5000. Thank you very much, wonderful virtual audience. Love y'all.
Wow, great. Thanks, Mark. It was great having you here tonight. And
Wonderful.
yeah, it was really fun. And I will definitely be in touch with you. Wait, my throat. Excuse me, right?
All right. Let me clear
um,
the throat.
Click, click.
Oh.
Thank you, right? Thank you for joining me tonight on Conversations with Reverend G, and I'll definitely be in touch.
All right.
All
Thank you.
righty. Have a
It was
great
awesome.
evening.
You
Yes.
too. All
All
right.
right.
Bye bye.
Bye. But thank you for joining me tonight on Conversations with Reverend G. And you can find me here every Monday night on WEMS Radio, live on Facebook and on YouTube. You can also find it on the WEMS Radio app. I am Reverend G, and I'm here to support you in finding joy and living your best life with grace and ease. You can find me daily on Facebook as Reverend Grenetta Mason and on Instagram as Rev Grenetta. Today, I'd like to leave you with a mindful moment, and I love what Mark said as his number one spiritual toolkit item was breathing. And I love that because you need the breath for everything. And I like the idea of in my mindful moments, taking that moment to breathe. And in taking those breaths, you can get the clarity, you can relax, and then you can shift. So it's Reverend G, and I will see you next Monday night right here on WEMS Radio Live. Have a great, great week and live your best life.